5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Welcome back.
This is the GHT Overland Podcast.
We visit with overland travelers around the globe, learning from their experiences,
Passing on their tips.
and enjoying their inspiring stories from the road. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lisa. This is part 2 of our interview with Taylor and KP of Running from Monday.
Remember, this is a live interview, so it's just like you're talking to new friends at a local bar.
Let's pick up where we left off as KP was telling us about the hazards of driving as an overland traveler.
KP also shared his recipe for the Peruvian cocktail, the Pisco Sour. So I'm going to go make a Pisco Sour. You guys listen to the podcast. I'm going to put it on speaker. I'll see you at the other end.
Make 2.
Dose.
Every once in a while, I'll get like the hair on the back of my neck, and I'm like, "What's my plan?" I don't have a plan. We don't have a plan. We, for like security, as far as people, that sort of thing, getting robbed or something, we just lock our door. we do have, and we've heard a lot of people say this, a really hard rule: if either one of us doesn't like a campsite, we just get a weird feeling, we just find another campsite.
Yeah, no
keep
questions
rolling.
asked.
Or an area, anything like that, parking spot. We try never to leave the truck out of our sight unless it's being guarded by someone else, just for smash and grab type stuff like that. Because I think that's your real concern. I mean, but then the real security stuff is mostly just don't drive at night.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't have anything to do with getting robbed. It's just that there's stuff in the road, or there is no road, and people don't use their lights, and it's just...
Oh, really?
Yeah, seriously, we
Yeah,
drove at
super
night
handy,
in
yeah.
Colombia because it was just worked out that way. We were trying to get to
we couldn't
camp,
find a
and
camp.
it was pouring rain. We were in the mountains on these twisty, nasty Colombian roads that literally some of the highway, and it's on a highway, but there are parts that are like sloughing off the mountain.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's like a cone or something to go around it, and then all the motorcycles aren't using their lights. It's pouring rain and it's night, and they're not using their headlights.
Yeah.
Awesome. How do they see you?
I don't know.
They have really good eyesight.
Yeah. So
Weird.
anyway, don't drive at night because it's dangerous. But mostly, the most dangerous thing I always tell people that we do is driving, even in the day.
Yeah.
They just buses pass on blind corners, and everybody does stuff like that. And it just it's far more dangerous than the actual
Yeah.
Okay.
than the actual
What
like, human
about
element.
like money management, currency changes? How do you handle that?
We will pull local currency out of the ATM and almost never change money. So we
Okay.
just try to, if we know we're going to be crossing a border within like a few days or a week, we'll kind of start making our plan for how we're going to distribute the cash out so that we don't end up with extra cash at the end of that when we cross the border. Usually it's nice to have a little bit of extra, just change for the next to get you to the ATM if there's not one right at the border. So we'll change maybe just a little bit of money, but you're going to lose a ton on the exchange rates there. So we have at home, we've got a Charles Schwab bank account, and that, if you're an American, that is an awesome option because you can pull cash out of any ATM for no fees.
Yeah,
So
they'll reimburse
Perfect.
any fee.
any
Okay.
fee worldwide. So we also have a
Capital
Capital
One
One, yeah.
venture card, and but neither one of these has any exchange rate fees.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the venture card, no exchange rate fees again. It's Visa. We've
No
had
foreign
Visas
transactions.
used everywhere, and no foreign transaction fees. And then also they give us quite a few points
Yeah,
for travel
mhm.
stuff. So,
So.
and it's very common actually. We meet a lot of travelers that have the exact same 2 cards.
Yep, exactly, yeah.
We've heard that a couple times.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Yeah, so it's really good.
And we keep enough cash on hand for gas stations, just in
Okay.
case, because there a lot of times they'll take a card, but every once in a while you'll roll up to one that doesn't take a card, and you'll want to have enough
We drive a
extra
big
cash.
V8. We need gas. So.
Yeah,
and then
so-
we do keep 100 to 200 US cash pretty much all the time because it's almost, if you get into trouble, it's more or less accepted everywhere.
Yeah.
If you have to, you know what I mean? If we have to pay somebody to pull us out of a ditch or something like that, they'll probably, it'll be way expensive, but just in case.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
Never needed it.
Navigation and communication. What do you guys use? Like for maps, are you using like Gaia GPS or?
We use Taylor's our navigator.
Yep.
Second
I
place,
actually-
Rebel.
Did you do navigation on the Rebel Rally?
I did, yeah.
Sweet.
I was a navigator
So you're
for
an
that,
awesome
yep.
navigator,
Yeah.
I
right?
am.
It's actually a
pretty
totally
good.
different thing.
It is very different, yeah.
But-
I'm good at reading a map.
Okay.
Yeah, when I did the Rebel, I actually, here at Northwest Overland Rally, is where I learned how to use a compass.
Perfect. How many
And
years ago?
That was 2 years ago.
Okay.
And 3 months later, I did the Rebel. So, I mean, I learned how to use a compass here. I practiced for 3 months, and I took second place in the Rebel Rally.
that's
So,
great.
I mean, it was, thank you. It was,
That's
yeah,
great.
it was super cool. And I just got hooked on it. And I realized it was something that was natural for me. And so when we are in the truck, we actually run 2 separate mapping systems, which is really helpful for us. So
Okay.
I've got my phone or my iPad up with, I actually use Google Maps
Yep.
with
Okay.
offline maps. So that's great for like actual turn-by-turn navigation.
And traffic
then,
and stuff in the cities.
yeah, and traffic in the
Same as
cities
you
because
do
it'll
here.
work just the same as home.
Yeah.
So and then we use I have a backup. I have Gaia for topo, so
Okay.
that way we kind of know what to expect.
We ran into a couple. And I run Backcountry Navigator on my 7-inch tablet all the time. I don't no guidance or anything like that. Just the map, dot of where I am, and kind of so I get a little more zoomed out idea of where we are than Taylor.
Yep.
She's doing the turn by turns. And then we hit a couple times in Colombia where Google Maps said it was
my
the best way to
gosh.
go. And even in our truck with all the torque and the low gears, and we're heavy, but we're not that heavy. We had to put it in 4-low just to get up the hill.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
And I've
Wow.
never had that happen in my
On
truck
pavement.
before. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, on pavement.
Yeah.
And so after that, we made sure to always be checking the topo. As
Yeah.
well. And that was in the city. That was in Medellin.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Taylor, how the hell did we get here? What is this?
I'm like,
And
this
there's
is
no
a
way to
major
tell.
road.
Yeah, there's no way to tell on Google
Crazy, yeah.
Maps. And
So yeah, that was
I
when I
think it
got my
was
backup.
Lost for Days. I think they had said, like, I am convinced that Google Maps is trying to kill us.
Oh, yeah.
So we try and always double check it. Like
Yeah.
when it gives us a route, we zoom out and kind of see, like, is it going the right place? Does this
Yeah,
make sense?
smart.
And then we run the double maps.
Mm-hmm.
And so if Taylor goes, take a left, and I go, Taylor, that's not a road on my map, then we both have a
Yeah,
clue.
look
Let's
at that.
stop and think about
sometimes
this
it'll
a little
say
bit.
take a right, and I'll see that there's actually a much better road.
Okay.
And then at least it lets us have that discussion.
Yeah,
Instead
and there
of
are
just
certain-
blindly following the nav.
There are certain countries that some maps work better. So we actually stopped using Maps.me in maybe Central America somewhere because we just realized it was not working for us. So,
Okay.
we stopped using it in Costa Rica because we had some friends who got
They got lost.
super lost. We were using Google Maps, they were using Maps.me, and we were both going to the same place, but they never showed up. And it was because Maps.me had taken them on this crazy route into like a water crossing and up some road that didn't exist anymore. And so,
Which brings us to communication.
yes, exactly.
We hadn't given them our radios. I have my ham license. We do have a 2-meter 70 on the road, and then I have 2 little handhelds, and we pass them out usually to people on the road if we're going to convoy and stuff, because it's really
Yep.
nice to have that communication back
Yep.
and forth between the trucks, and that's exactly why we lost them.
Yeah.
Um,
Mostly it's just so we can say stupid things like
yeah,
10-4,
yeah.
get Betty
Mostly
back and
people
forth,
just
but-
think they're serious,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Totally
okay,
fun.
you know
yeah,
what?
it is. It's a blast.
So,
But they are great. When
yeah.
What kind of handhelds are you using?
We're using the cheap Chinese Baofangs.
Okay.
Because they're like $20,
Yep.
and the batteries are great. I can charge them from the USB, and they're just, if we were to lose one or break one, or
Not a
just
big deal.
who cares? Yeah. So and they're simple, and really they just work.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
And then I have a Yaesu in the truck.
Okay.
So
Other than that, is it a cell phone?
yeah.
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
yeah. KP runs a international card, a Google Fi card that we can use throughout any country.
Yep.
And then I will put a local SIM in my phone. So
Okay.
It's usually a lot cheaper to use a local SIM for data.
Okay.
in between the 2 of them, we know we're probably going to have service anywhere that it's available then at that point.
Okay.
And it's actually available in more places than you would think. So, yeah.
We've had LTE in some pretty ridiculously remote Peruvian mountains.
Yeah, crazy, yeah.
So anything for like emergency backup? Do you use like an inReach or a Spot?
You know where it is though?
I have no clue.
We have a spot.
It's somewhere.
It's somewhere in the
Okay.
truck. We had a spot, and we used to ping it every night, and our family would get a little email that told them where we were at, and we thought that was really sweet of us.
So
And
yeah, we had it sent to both of our moms and one of our really good friends who's like another mom.
yeah,
And we were like, this is nice. Everybody knows that we're like moving and we're still good. And then like we just stopped doing it. We just got lazy and forgot.
Yeah.
And nobody knows.
Nobody said anything.
Nobody said,
There were
hey.
no like panic texts. Are you guys okay?
Yeah.
No, none of
That
that.
probably felt good.
Oh, it felt great.
It's nice,
So,
it's
thanks,
nice
Mom.
to know
Yeah.
that they're keeping a track of
Yeah,
us.
right,
Now we
you
really
know?
know we're on our own. So
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. So now we know we need the spot even more. So
yeah. And we've actually found just communication on a larger scale for like emergency response and that sort of thing if you get stuck. Facebook is really good.
Oh, really?
We've seen a lot of people where they got stuck in the mountains or something like that, and you're not sure who to reach, but there's such a big community of overlanders now, and we're all kind of on the same Facebook groups, that if they can get somewhere and get enough service to get out a message, or a lot of times a text to a friend to put a message on one of these, they can put their GPS location and someone will show up.
yeah.
Eventually.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
worked a couple times.
Yeah, it's worked a couple times. Yeah, not for us. Hasn't happened to us yet, but
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. So vehicle maintenance and repair, what was your pre-trip planning process to make sure you were comfortable with a vehicle? And then any tips? We talked a little bit about like all this crazy stuff that you don't need to carry, but what are like those key items that you carry in any like morning maintenance or checks that you do?
So like getting ready for the trip, I totally rebuilt the front end and stuff. It's a known problem on GMs, on those IFS, they wear out. I totally rebuilt all of that stuff, and then there are some other known problems that I hadn't had yet, and I went ahead and just replaced that stuff preemptively. I figured if I was going to carry that part, it might as well be installed. And so, like on my truck, the fuel pumps will go out. They have knock sensor problems, things like that. Just stuff you know about. Our truck has, I think I said, it had almost 200,000 on it.
Okay.
It has over 2 now. I would say, and then of course we have the basics: belts, fluids. I carry like a U-joint, things like that. I figured anything that'll give me a warning or that I can find like at a bearing or something like that, I'm not going to carry with me because you can get it at a tractor store, you know what I mean? But we carry light things that won't give you warning, belts. We carry a full complement of fluids, and then I carry probably way more tools than I need. Mostly I've used them for Volkswagen vans. But I do have a pretty full set of sockets and wrenches, and since I'm American, also metric and standard, because everything is both.
Yep.
Which is awesome. Thank you, world. Because I could cut my tool weight in half.
Yes.
Just telling everyone out there, let's fix this. Let's come together, metric for life. But I would say the biggest thing you can take with you is a working basic knowledge of your vehicle. Even if you don't do your own mechanic work, you need to know what that mechanic's doing and what might be the problem. Just have a general idea of how it works.
Okay.
And of that specific vehicle, what the layout is and, what to expect. Pay a lot of attention. If it makes a funny noise, that funny noise isn't going to go away. And if it does, it broke. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Anything that you go through like each day to make sure that everything's
Yeah.
in check?
I pop the hood, check the oil, stuff like that. Mostly that's just to pop the hood and get a look at things. I might
Okay.
see something funny. Typically the oil's always still there.
Yeah.
But it just gives you that chance to check it out. I do my own. That's the biggest reason I do all my own maintenance. I do my own greasing and oil changes and stuff like that because it gets you down underneath the truck, and you'll notice things after a while. If you're in a routine of seeing the same thing every day, and one day you notice that there's a weird rub mark, something like that, it really gives you a clue. You need to look into more stuff. I do my own tire rotations as well. They're really cheap down south, and anybody can rotate tires, but I do them because I also check the brakes and the bearings, shock mount, stuff like that. 'Cause it's a really good opportunity for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let's go through some onboard necessities real quick. So how much fuel do you carry? How far does that take you? And how do you calculate your fuel needs?
So we have a 34-gallon tank that's stock in a long bed Chevy. We get about 10 miles to the gallon on average. A lot of times we do a little better, but average is 10, so we can go 340 miles. Our rule is we try and fill up whenever we hit half a tank. Whenever we see a gas station, just fill up. We did buy a couple jerry cans in Peru, but for the Lagunas route.
Yep.
But we didn't need them. Nowhere near.
Oh,
needed
really?
them.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, actually.
So because there's just a lot of gas stations. It's not any different really than here. In
You
fact,
think
some places
everything's-
there's more.
You think it's going to be so remote and hard to find what you need, but those people need gas too.
Yeah,
I
know,
mean, wherever you're at, the
Yeah.
people need the same things you need.
I actually get that question a lot. What do you do for gas? And I like pull in the gas station and ask for gas.
Yeah.
Everyone that lives there also drives and needs gasoline. So
Yeah.
but unless we're going somewhere a little more remote, we definitely calculated before the Lagunas route. And
Some of the Cordillera Blanca area
some of
and
the
stuff
Cordillera
too.
Blanca, yeah. But even then, there's a gas station. You just make sure you fill up. You don't drive
Yeah.
past a gas station without filling up.
Exactly.
So
Okay, cool. How are you managing water use? How much water do you carry? And do you have like a plan for purification?
We have about 20 gallons
Yeah.
on board, 80 liters in the camper, and
Okay.
so that allows us to go pretty much 2 weeks or so. We think.
yeah, 2 weeks is a stretch, but
Yeah.
we can do it.
Yeah, and
we're
that's-
about a week is about average. Right?
And we're actually just filling our tank with water wherever we can find it.
Okay.
So we
Stations.
figured this is water for showering, for doing dishes, for brushing our teeth, washing hands. I mean, that's pretty much all we use that water for.
We do bleach it.
We add a little
to
bit of bleach.
to the World Health Organization standards. So it tastes like pool water, but you can drink it.
We have on it as a backup every once in a while.
Yeah,
but
we
it's-
have in Belize. We ran
not
out of water
great.
and drank it. It just tasted terrible.
But then we buy purified water from gas stations, from the in jugs from grocery stores,
Yeah,
and that's
or if the locals say they drink it, we drink it.
yeah.
Okay.
So there have been a lot of places, especially in the mountains, where it's safe to drink. So if the locals are drinking it, we'll just fill our drinking jugs with it
Yeah.
and drink it too. So
We have
far,
about
we've been fine.
5 gallons of drinking water. We try to keep that at all times.
So
Okay.
25 gallons total.
Yep.
Okay. And do you guys use solar or generator?
We have 300 watts of solar on the roof.
Okay. And that works pretty good for you?
It works great most of the time. If there's no sun, there's no sun. Doesn't matter how much solar you have on the roof.
Yep.
But if we have good sun, especially like in Ecuador,
Oh man,
on the equator,
you get on the equator and all of a sudden you got more power than you know what to do with.
yeah, we could. I mean, it would charge the battery, run the fridge, run the fans, and both laptops, and we'd still have extra power.
Yep.
So
Do you guys have heat and AC in the back in the camper?
Just heat.
Just heat?
Yeah, we've got a propane heater in the back there, and we haven't used it. I mean, we use it for sure, but
the propane heater,
yeah, we
a
use
lot.
it. Yeah, but
And do you
but
miss
no
not
air.
having AC?
No,
Or are you
In
totally
Central
okay
America, there were days when
pretty
it
miserable.
was
Couple
pretty
days.
miserable.
we have
Yeah.
AC in the truck, so there were a few days where it was just really humid and nasty. It's not the heat so much as the humidity, especially in the
It's
camper
just
because
so
it's hard to get
sticky
away
all
from.
the time.
So we
Yeah.
would, it was super just hot, and we'd be like, today's a good driving day.
Yeah, exactly.
Truck has air conditioning, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna drive.
yeah. And we also have a 12-volt heated pad on the
Okay.
bed.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of times, I always tell people like 12-volt power is easy to get. You can get it, plugging in with your converter. You can get it driving, and you get it from solar. So it's the easiest, cheapest thing to get. It's almost free for us. And it basically is, unless we're idling the truck. So we actually try and use 12-volt when we can over propane, because propane costs money, and it's kind of a pain to get.
Yeah. And we cook with that,
We
so
cook
we
with
need it.
Yeah, so we use that pad, and then we can turn when it's cold, and then we can turn the heater way down.
Okay.
But it gets the bed all warm and toasty. It's like sleeping on a heated seat. It's pretty great.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That was a tip from Travel Amateurs. I'll give them the credit for that one. They
they
were
said
like,
you definitely buy one of these.
they were like, that's an essential gear item.
They make it for truck drivers.
Okay.
That's the idea. So we bought it on Amazon. On our website, we actually have links to all that stuff.
Oh yeah, we do actually. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. Anything we missed?
We were talking about how we've got these Facebook groups that are
Yep.
so, I mean, even if you're not a Facebook user, it's a resource to be a part of these groups. Pan American Travelers Association is a huge one. If you're traveling other parts of the world, there are definitely specific groups for other areas as well. So overlanding, just search overlanding, and wherever you want to go, you're going to find a group for you. So, but when we were camped in El Salvador with the Vagabrods, we were talking about how these groups are a little bit male focused.
Okay.
And almost, I'd say 90% of the people that we meet on the road are couples. Like
Okay.
maybe slightly less than that, but it's the majority by a long ways. And so that means pretty much half of that group has to be women.
Okay.
And there's no place for women to ask questions that we want the answers to. So guys can ask about their tires and their fuel capacity all day long.
Same damn questions over
Yeah.
and over again.
But I couldn't ask about how do you get birth control on the road.
Okay.
So we were, about a year ago, this conversation was happening, and we went, why don't we just start a group? So we started Women Overlanding the World. And it has become a resource for women on the road now. So we have about 1,400 members, and they're women traveling all over the globe, and solo travelers, couple travelers, people traveling with dogs. I mean, every question you could have that's even remotely women focused, we've got the answer to, and most of the questions you have about that you would ask on any of these groups, we have the answers to. So it's a really cool place just for resources.
That's a great resource for women to go to ask their specific questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Or just have a conversation. You know, when you've got only your partner with you the whole time, you miss being able to have a girl talk, you know?
Okay.
So it's a great place to just say, hey, God, I just want to talk about some girl stuff for a second.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Any philanthropy or giving back that you guys either do on the road or opportunities you've seen for other overlanders to do?
The one thing that makes that hard is that you have to be really super flexible with your schedule, and you have to a lot of times have references, and you really have to sign up when you want to volunteer. So
Okay.
that's actually something that's
I thought it would be much easier.
yeah, we thought it'd be super easy to just roll into town and be like, hey, we can help you build
We have
that school.
Tools, a truck, skills. We don't need anything. Can we help? And they're like, well, you need to submit your your resume and get like two references and stuff like that. We're like,
Yeah, and we'll
Well,
let you
we're
know.
leaving tomorrow,
We'll let you know in 3 weeks if
Yeah.
we can use you. And
Yeah.
so there are resources popping up now for people who want to volunteer on the road. So that's something that you should definitely seek out. And again, in those groups, ask the question: where can I volunteer? Where have you done it before? So that's a really good thing to give back on the road. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So let's wrap it up with some fun facts about you guys. Any fun hobbies or things you've done on the road that you've always wanted to do and never had the chance?
I learned kiteboarding.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was much cheaper down there, and did some salsa lessons.
Yeah, we salsa
Oh,
lessons.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually just starting to write a book right now. It's still very early, but I realized I have things to say and I have the time to write it down.
There
So
you
why
go.
not try and see if it becomes something? So
Yeah.
I think that's what's cool about this is it gives you that time to be able to pursue things that you would have wanted to, but you don't make time for at home. That was a big part of what this trip became for us. Actually, when we came home last summer, we realized that the trip is less about destinations and more about collecting
Yeah.
experiences.
So I took flying lessons last year,
Oh, fun.
and like 20 hours in a Cessna 150 now, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And learned to ride a motorcycle, which I'd always wanted to do.
And I did the Rebel rally.
Yeah,
I mean,
Taylor did the
that's
Rebel, which is
so-
why I got to fly airplanes, because it
Yeah.
costs about the same.
yeah. So
Yeah.
so it was
That's great.
yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, so I think taking the trip and thinking of it more as a chance for you to be you and to learn
Yep.
more about yourself and what's important to you rather than just having a destination in mind.
Okay. What keeps a co-driver occupied during long drives?
Play a lot of Candy Crush. Oh. Yeah, but I mean, when you start getting to these places, there's so much to see, and you're constantly like dodging donkeys on the road and guys with mule carts and women in beautiful full colorful outfits, and all of a sudden looking at your phone isn't quite as important. So yeah, but we do spend a fair amount of time looking at other people Instagrams, because there are other friends on the road, so we're going,
Yeah.
oh look, they're in.
And it's so funny, we'll see a place that like we've been, and we're like jealous that they're there.
Yeah.
You know, every time we meet Europeans going north, and I'm like, oh, you're going to the States? Like, look, I'll make you a list. Like,
Yeah,
you have to go to
exactly.
the States, and our beer is good. Don't let people tell you it's not.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Any musical instruments you play on the road or around the campfire at night?
I brought a harmonica. I
Do
don't
you
play
use
it,
it?
but I have it.
You have it with you just in
I
case?
haven't learned to play that yet.
We actually go and seek out karaoke a lot of times
Taylor
too.
has a great voice. She sings.
I love to sing.
So-
I don't play an instrument, but I love to sing, and so we'll go and
pretty fun.
it's funny because I always worry that these Mexican or Ecuadorian karaoke bars, they're not going to want to hear English music, but I
Rock
rock
out
up
some
some
Adele, and
Adele,
everybody's
and all of a
pretty
sudden everybody knows every word singing along.
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah, it's great.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so
It's a great
pretty
way to
fun.
make friends.
Or you listen to somebody sing like "I love rock and roll" with like a heavy
They
accent.
don't actually even know what the words mean.
Yeah, they don't.
They
I
just
mean,
know
just
what it-
like
yeah, it's pretty funny.
it's fantastic. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
great.
Yep.
What's your favorite drink in the morning to get you going?
Clearly
We're coffee drinkers.
Yeah. we're coffee drinkers.
What's your favorite way to make coffee on the road?
So we hand grind it, and then we have it's called an American press. It's sort of like an AeroPress, it's kind of like a French press, but it uses pressure instead of time. So, and we really like it.
We really like it.
But we've been getting pretty lazy lately, and we've been drinking a lot of
Nescafe.
A lot of Nescafe, the premium.
Premium. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
yeah. But it's really hard to find.
Sometimes it's been hard now to find good beans. Actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was easy all through Central. The best coffee we had was in
Panama.
from Chiapas and Panama. All the coffee is good. Just
Yeah,
very
we were really
consistent,
surprised.
Really good coffee.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Okay, cool. What's a favorite beverage at night to wind down after a long day on the road?
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually, since we've
What's
got the
available?
camper,
Yeah, what's available.
we have
Yeah.
a pretty well stocked bar.
Like a bar, like
Yeah.
a legit, like, you want me to make you an old fashioned? Okay. Yeah, so almost everything. We really like wine, beer.
We've realized that we try to drink whatever the locals are drinking. So we kind of, when we were in Mexico, it was tequila all the way. We were doing all sorts of, I was making margaritas like at least once a
We're
day.
whiskey drinkers, really.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
If somebody asked, I'd say we're whiskey drinkers.
Yep.
Okay.
But it's very expensive in Mexico, and it gets expensive through Central. So we started drinking like aged tequilas in much the same way we would drink whiskey, just sipping it on a couple rocks. And then moved into rums.
Yeah, when we crossed the Belizean border and we went to try to buy tequila, and all of a sudden it was
Really
like
expensive.
3 times what you would pay in Mexico, and then
But
we
they're,
realized,
like,
but the
literally
rum,
giving rum away for free.
Yeah, the
Oh.
rum is so cheap.
All right,
so,
rum it is.
Yeah,
Rum it
exactly.
is.
And you do the same thing. We started drinking the aged rum, and we actually
you
started
just buy the good
making
stuff and-
we started making whiskey cocktails with rum.
Okay.
So we'll make old fashions and we'll make whiskey sours with rum.
Yeah,
So yeah.
They're a little sweeter. Rum's a little sweeter, so you just use a little less simple syrup,
Yeah.
and it comes out really good. Different flavor, but it's really
Yeah,
good.
makes it great
And then
Manhattan.
we really got into pisco and pisco
man.
sours in Peru.
Okay,
Like,
what are
absolutely.
piscos?
Pisco is
It's made with grapes.
Made with grapes.
It's
It's
similar to a brandy.
it's like a brandy.
Yeah, but
it's
it's without the, they do it without the skins.
They don't
I think.
age it in the barrels.
Oh, they don't age it in the barrels.
Yeah.
That's why. So it's white
So
or it's clear.
It's clear. And then use egg white and simple syrup and lime and pisco
And bitters. Bitters is very
And you
important for the
shake
top.
it up with the egg white in there, and then it gets a nice, beautiful foamy consistency on top. And
Smooth.
yeah, really smooth. And then throw a little bitters on top. And
Okay.
man, it's good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's great. It's
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
good.
and it's
yeah.
hard to find good pisco beer. So.
Yeah, you can
started
find it
doing
at the liquor store. You'll find, but maybe only 2 varieties. So
Okay.
yeah.
So yeah, we drank pisco. I mean, that was our main in Peru. It was so
for
good,
sure.
cheap, easy to find. There's a big culture behind it. They really like it.
We
And so we were doing whiskey cocktails again. You do an El Capitan, which is basically a Manhattan pisco,
Pisco, yeah.
stuff like that.
Okay,
drinking is a very large part of overlanding.
good.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It just
Yeah,
I mean, you
we've
just
had
end up having more time in
almost
your
any
day.
major, like bigger overlander camp. There's going to be a happy hour.
Good.
Like that, just people, everyone's working on their rigs or doing their work or chatting amongst themselves. But then in the evening, there's a fire or something, or everyone gathers under a palapa, and there's a happy hour for a couple hours or
yeah.
for many hours. It depends.
Yeah.
So, what's your best advice to aspiring overlanders like us?
I think the same thing that everybody says. Like you just have to do it. I mean, I don't want to not realize how lucky that we were in being able to do it. But I think a big thing, and I look around at all these really amazingly built rigs and how cool they are and stuff. And something that bothers me or that I'm concerned about is people think that you need to have a $100,000, built rig. And man, you can do it in a Toyota Corolla. It's just how comfortable you want to be. So you just don't get tied up in the gear and the equipment and stuff. Take what you need, spend the money on the good things if you want it, like our fridge.
Yeah.
It costs more than the fridge in our house, and we do not regret it.
Nope.
But also you can, we see people doing it all the time in crappy Volkswagen vans and stuff like that. So, I mean, just take a reliable car that you're comfortable driving and kind of know mechanically, and man, you're ready to go.
It's so much easier than you think.
It's so much easier than you
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
Yeah, and use your resources. There's so many people doing this now, and one thing about overlanders is we love talking about overlanding.
Yeah, I bet you've noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any of us, I mean, you can contact any of your friends that have, or they'll become your friends, but the people that you see on Instagram who may have 100,000 followers, they will still send you a message and be like, that is so cool, you want to go overlanding, that's awesome, where do you want to go, what are you going to drive? And they will answer any of your questions. I know when we were planning, we talked to our inspiration.
Because of Desk
Yeah, we got our
their
camera.
backup camera. Or it was several years ago.
Our inspiration was Drive Not to Drive, and so we read their books, we looked at their blog, and we sent them several messages when we were planning and said, hey, we've got these questions, or we're excited about about this, and they were so responsive and so excited for us. Same thing with Des to Glory. And so we've got the next generation. We've had a few people contacting us now, and
which is really cool.
It's
That's
amazing.
awesome.
It's so cool, and I think every one of us just want to see more people on the road and make it more accessible and easy for the next generation. So we're here for you.
Really good. So how can people learn more about you and what you're doing?
Probably the website is
we
the
actually
best.
put out a blog every Monday of our travels and sometimes kind of advice, and so that's at www.runningfrommonday.com.
Okay.
And then we've got an Instagram is Run From Monday.
At Run From Monday, because Running From Monday was too long.
Just
But everything
a hair
else
too
is
long.
Running From Monday. If you go to the website, it has links to the Instagram and Facebook and YouTube as well. So.
Our friends Vagabrods have just put out a book that's coming out in, I think, next week. It is I Can, I Will, Women Overlanding the World. And that is a collection of over 50 women, their stories of the road, and incredibly beautiful shots of all over the world. So that's going to be amazing. I'm so honored to be able to be one of the women that's featured in that book, and that's going to be amazing. So really excited to see that.
All our friends are doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
We really love podcasts.
Yeah, we listen to podcasts on the road all the time.
And Long Cruise just came out with their podcast, We'll Travel Far as well, and man, it's really good. They're doing a good job. So and it's a little bit different format than this. So if somebody likes this podcast, they'll like that. If somebody likes that podcast, they'll like this.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate you stopping by. It's been a lot of fun to talk to you.
Good. Yeah. Thank you.
This is so cool. Yeah.
Hey, now we have a new plan for drinking our way through the world. Taste, enjoy, and experiment with local liquors. If that doesn't get you excited to ditch the day-to-day rat race, I don't know what will. Wow, they pointed out so many awesome things about overland travel. That was a really great episode. Taylor and KP of Running From Monday, you guys were so much fun to talk to. Cruise on over to their show notes page for everything, including a link to those Pisco Sours. Look them up on social at Running From Monday. You have so much to gain from their experience and knowledge, and they're just a ton of fun.
You can find the show notes at ghteoverland.com/podcasts. Just click on the picture titled Running From Monday. We'd love it if you'd connect with us on social media at GHT Overland and share the episode with some friends who it might inspire. Overlanding, travel, meeting new friends, seeing the most amazing places off the beaten path, and so much more. Hey, do me a favor. Take a screenshot right now of you listening to the podcast and post it on social media, and let's see what happens.
We'd love to hear from you. Drop us an email at ghteoverlandpodcast@gmail.com.
Do you have a favorite drink or a food recipe for overlanding? We'd love to feature it and you. Send them to ghteoverlandpodcast@gmail.com. Before you race off, it would mean the world to us.
And I mean the entire world.
If you rate and review the podcast, give GHT Overland some podcast love so we can reach as many overlanders as possible. Thank you, and we will see you next Thursday for a brand new episode of the GHT Overland Podcast with the Vagabrods.
Ooh, nice teaser.
Bye.